What's going on, you guys? This is Nate from Big Nate TV. Watch Big Nate TV. And we are doing the Bandwagon Fan Sports Podcast. What's going on? What's going on? What is going on? All right, today is Monday. And every Saturday and Monday, we actually talk about the biggest losers and the biggest winners in sports. On Mondays, we recap what happened on the weekend, and on Saturdays, we recap what happened on the week. Right now, we're trying to get some type of schedule. Super Cool Miles, my co-host, is right now, he wasn't able to join us tonight. You can drop your comments below. You can also find us on Facebook and YouTube under the Bandwagon Fan Sports Podcast. By all means, please send us your comments. And what we're going to do today, we're going to talk about 4 different things. We're going to talk about the NBA All-Star Game. We're going to talk about NFL news. We're going to talk about that wild Michigan and Wisconsin basketball fight. And we're going to talk about the Olympic Games. So drop your comments. Definitely drop your comments. I want this to be interactive. It is not long at all. The podcast usually goes about somewhere in the neighborhood of 10, maybe 15 minutes. That's it. That's all. We're not really doing a bunch of talking. We just get straight to the point. These are our biggest winners and biggest losers. So let's just start with something that is one of our biggest winners and losers. The NBA All-Star Game, which was last night. And I heard this on a sports podcast where they said, rank out of all of the major sports, rank from top to bottom the best All-Star games. And people were like, basketball would be number 1, baseball number 2, NHL number 3, and the NFL 4. And I thought that was really interesting because when you get to the NFL and the NBA, a lot of them don't really want to play in the game. Usually it's for the first timers or people that been around for a while and they're just doing it to do it. But a lot of them don't want to participate in the shootouts. But baseball, and the NHL, these guys, very few of them will opt out of it. Very few of them will say, you know what, let's not do it. But a lot of them will, participate in the other stuff, like the home run derby, the hardest slap shot, things like that. So one of the proposals that is out there right now is that they want to talk. They're talking about possibly canceling the NBA All-Star Game. I seriously doubt that happened because it didn't get legs. But the NFL All-Star Game, if you didn't see that like 3 weeks ago, absolutely horrible. Basically, a glorified game of touch football, or we're doing like walkthrough drills. They weren't hitting them. They were not, doing too much anything. Because I guess, you really don't want to get hurt in something like that. All right, let's move ourselves right along. NFL news. Biggest winners. The Pittsburgh Steelers and Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin did something that was Super Bowl and really, really good, especially for the African-American coaches. He hired Brian Flores. If you don't know who Brian Flores is a football coach that got fired from the Miami Dolphins, and he is suing the NFL and several NFL football teams for their hiring practices. Mike Tomlin stepped out there on a limb and he said, you know what, I'm going ahead and hire this guy. And this is what most of them do. And to be honest with you, for a league that is probably 75% African Americans, African Americans are not well represented in the head coaching and in the management ranks. The NBA doesn't have this problem. The NBA, Major League Baseball doesn't have this problem. And the National Hockey League we need to break more into that sport also. But he's making a very good point. And here's something before we go any further, we go to the next topic. It's kind of funny. The NFL and the NBA are the two most popular sports leagues. And do you know that their players have the shortest length of a career and they get paid less than most Major League Baseball players and most NHL players? To put it in the further perspective, they get paid less than the top 100 golf pros, top 100 tennis pros, and if you're in NASCAR, the top 50. Let that sink in for a minute. There are more NFL and NBA players that are making less than $1 million than there are ones making multi-millions per year. So I'm saying that because I have 3 boys, and my 3 boys, I tell them all the time, let's take up golf, let's take up tennis. Let's take up something that's going to get you into college if that's what you want to do. But I'm definitely a proponent for golf and tennis because you have a longer lifespan. And name me an NFL player, an NBA player that has access to a private jet. But you can do that in all the other sports. All right, let's move right along. Biggest loser, the Olympic Games. The Olympic Games closed out last night. The Olympic Winter Games that was in China was a complete and utter mess. A lot of people didn't like what was going on because they felt like the Chinese government wasn't really an acceptable host country. A lot of people were complaining on basically the living conditions and the food, and you really couldn't do too much of anything. Another thing was a lot of the sports where they had judging, the judging was not really up to par per se. It was almost like a fixed situation, and it didn't go unnoticed. However, the biggest loser is NBC Sports because viewership was at the absolute lowest for this Olympics more than anybody else. I can honestly tell you for 17 days, I probably watched it a grand total of maybe 10 times. 10 minutes, I should say. 10 minutes of whatever sports they were doing, but it didn't really go too well for me. Well, the biggest winner in that situation was the opening and closing ceremony. The ceremonies were absolutely phenomenal. I will say this. They did a great job. They did a great job at the opening and the closing of the ceremonies. And the president of China did a great job to make himself look like he was in a very peaceful situation with his country, and I can't be mad at that. However, let's move right along. Let's get ready to close this thing on out. If you don't know, now you know. Michigan and Wisconsin had a very interesting game yesterday. Wisconsin was up double digits on my Michigan Wolverines, led by Juwan Howard. Yes, the Fab Five, Juwan Howard. I love Coach Howard. Anyways, what happened was Wisconsin, with a few seconds left, called a timeout. Why? The excuse from Wisconsin's coach was that, well, we're just trying to get a play in for some of our players who haven't really been playing, and we really want to get them some time. Okay, that's fine, cool. But I think that rubbed Juwan Howard the wrong way. However, this is where it gets interesting. As they're arguing near the end of the game or a few seconds left in the game, Coach Howard takes a swing at someone and ends up landing it on one of the Wisconsin's coaches. Now, I am not condoning what Coach Howard did by any stretch of the imagination. None. It happens. Big egos, super hyper, ego coaches. It's going to happen probably more than what we even think about. However, this is where I have a big problem. Well, first and foremost, Coach Howard is going to get suspended. I'm not even worried about that. He's going to get suspended. He will get suspended in by the Big Ten, And some of these sports podcasters are calling for him to be fired, which is really interesting. So, not to bring race, but I am going to bring race into it. A lot of these sportscasters are middle-aged, older white men who the majority of them have never played a sports before, but they can make certain comments. Now, Kyrie Irving has made a whole stance on why he should not get vaccinated. And believe you me, they have drug him through the mud. Aaron Rodgers, who lied and twisted what he really did about COVID, and then he caught COVID. Oh, he's a Hall of Fame quarterback. He didn't lie to the fans. He lied to the... Come on, y'all. Come on. Now you're calling for Coach Howard to be fired? Suspended? Yes. Fired? No. Because some of the other coaches that are of other races have done far more egregious things to our kids of color. Not even kids of color, but our kids, period. Bobby Knight was beating people up, throwing chairs, and they didn't fire him. Now, I really want to say this, and I'm going to close it out with this. I think there needs to be more people of color, not only in the arena of sports management, but we need more agents. We need more podcasters, people that are really talking about this, because the level playing field needs to be leveled out. If you don't know and you like sports, I definitely want you to go on YouTube, check out the JR Reed Sports Podcast, Sports Brief by JR, something like that. I'll drop it into the comments. But he's really big on getting minorities and women in the sports podcasting, and so am I. However, I'm gonna put it out there like this. If you are looking to do a sports podcast or learn how to do a sports podcast, send me a DM. You can send me a DM on Facebook at Watch Big Nate TV or on Instagram at Watch Big Nate TV, or you can go to the Bandwagon Sports Fan Podcast and send me a DM, and let's get you going. I am looking for content creators because we're going to do something. We're going to have some news going fairly quick. But I appreciate you guys. Hey, get ready, because the next video we're going to do, we're going to go live around 9:30. I want to, we're going to do the Dad's Outreach, which is presented by Watch Big Nate TV. And I definitely want you guys to do that. If you stayed this long, I want you to know that I want to shout out Man Cup. I'm ordering my Man Cup today. It is a 3-pound cup. You got to see this cup. It is absolutely unbelievable. When I get this cup, we're going to do an unboxing on all the platforms. So I appreciate you guys, and we'll see you in about 15 minutes.